And quite the week for the Canadian economy, especially following the Bank of Canada's decision to raise the key interest rate. And with that, joining us now, Nick Bontis, award-winning professor from the DeGroote School of Business. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you.
All right, let's talk immediately with the key interest rate, because that has really created quite a few things from that point. So we saw it raise, and I think I asked you this last week if we predicted an increase, and I think, most economists said, yeah, we'll see it, but let's go from there.
Sure, it's a small raise, only 0.25, but it's going to impact all the mortgage holders, of course. And if you translate that into actual monthly payments, it's going to probably turn out to be about $12 a month. So it's not a huge amount of money, but still, for people who are watching their funds, they're going to have to be careful. Now, we expect those interest rates to be even probably for the next year or so, so I don't expect a massive increase over the next 12 months. But the reality of the situation is we are still strangle-held by our American cousins down the south. We are suffering from a little bit of secondhand smoke down there because their market's still not moving as much as we would like.
That's right. And the Bank of Canada officials, they actually said unusual uncertainty. That was the term they used. Are they really just saying the U.S. economy without saying it?
Absolutely, Melanie. I mean, I think we're doing okay as Canadians. Our fiscal policy seems to be in check, and our trade balance is not as great as I would like it to be. We're still, exporting most of our goods to the U.S., and as long as the U.S. economy is slow, they're not going to be buying our stuff. So we really want the U.S. economy to pick up pace. Then they will buy our Canadian products, and then our economy will turn around. Okay,
well, that being said, released today, the Canada's August unemployment rate risen for the first time since May, over 8%. So it's 8.1, not a huge increase, but saw some job numbers increase, more jobs created. So how does that pan out? How does it play?
Well, they actually got about 35,000 new jobs in the month, which is great news. 35,000 new jobs is always good news. The problem is there's more people looking for work, so that's why the employment rate maybe has risen a little bit. But it's kind of stabilized. So I consider this actually good news. It was the expected number and the expected number of jobs. We got to put 8.1% into context. Look at our American cousins. They're not doing too well. They got 9.6% unemployment down there. And then you know what, Melanie? Let's check out some countries around the world. Spain, 20% unemployment. South Africa, 25% unemployment. So when you look at the grand scheme of things, Canada's still doing okay. Obviously, there's still 8% of Canadians out there looking for work, and we wish them well.
Yeah. Now, coming back to the numbers of jobs created, so some people saying that it was a lot of people who maybe were laid off and then rehired back. With the school year, a lot of people in the education sector, would that possibly make up for a lot of the losses too?
Yeah, that would happen in the educational sector, and we also noticed the same pattern in the U.S. when it came to government census workers who were also laid off, but they created more private sector jobs, and the private sector jobs are the ones actually that have the higher wages. So that's what we're hoping for in Canada as well, higher wage jobs and better jobs.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's jump back a little bit, because we were talking interest rate hike, and now let's talk about the housing market, because the Conference Board of Canada reports saying that it's slowing, but it's not a free fall. So really, when's a good time to buy a home now? A lot of people asking that.
Magic question. Well, the HST, of course, impacted us. It also impacted housing. In August, the average price of a home in the Hamilton area was about $317,000 in terms of the residential home. And that was about a 1.7% increase from last year. So that's a good sign. It's actually going up and not down. And when you actually look at year-to-date figures, Melanie, in other words, all the houses that were sold from January through to August in 2010, we actually had an increase of 8% versus 2009. So both those figures actually bode well for the real estate market. My advice to people who are out there in the market, make sure you get a broker, because the brokers are the real professionals that can pick out the bargains that you're looking for. And you're going to have to spend some time looking, because there aren't really great bargains out there. You're going to have to dig deep.
Really look now. Now, would more homes be on the market right now? I know a lot of my friends are searching for that home, but there's so many question marks right now where to look, because obviously certain homes are available in certain areas versus others, and pricing all over the map. So really, to get the experts on board.
And it's not just the difficulty with the homes for first-time buyers, but it's also the condo market that's playing into this, Melanie, because condo supply is huge, not only in Hamilton, but in the Toronto market as well. Thousands and thousands of units for sale, and those prices are going to be depressed a little bit, because maybe these young new families that are first coming out, they're going to be looking for a condo first instead of a home.
Right. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. Another StatsCan report came out this week when it comes to tying in marital status versus education. Basically a summary of it showing that more women are now gaining their university degrees, and then they sort of tag on to the men with the university degrees. You know, as a McMaster professor as well, what are you seeing when it comes to the trends of females coming in and what types of degrees that they're getting? Because that trend's changing too. Well,
it's an interesting phenomenon. If you go back about 25 years ago, the average age of a male and a female when they first got married was 28 and 26. Today, the average age of a male and a female getting married is 34 and 32. So it's bumped up 6 years in a 25-year period. Now let's look at what's happened in those 6 years. Those 6 years really is about women now entering university in greater numbers. Not only in an undergraduate degree, which is 4 years, but many of them now in graduate degrees, which is another 2 years. So I think that's where the 6-year difference comes. They're just delaying the entering of the institution of marriage so they can finish at the institution of a university.
That makes sense. And when it comes to the actual fields, I know there are quite a few women now entering business where even 10 years ago there weren't as many.
That's right.
And same with engineering, that's sort of jumping as well, mostly a male-dominated field. Are you seeing that as well?
I am, actually. The average at McMaster University for females is 55%. So the girls are outnumbering the boys, but it's varied by faculty. If you look at the business school, it's about 42% females in the business school, but you have big differences in health sciences and engineering. Health sciences, lots of females, upwards of 70%. Engineering, not so much, lower than 20%. So big diversity across faculties.
Yeah, still growing,
That's
growing.
Right.
And here's the big story today. Lululemon, we were talking about this earlier, and it is the phenomenon, doubled its revenue within the last quarter, and that's what, $22 million, I think, in net profits. 56% increase. So what is it about this time of year, this quarter, and Lululemon as a brand?
Well, you know, everybody's going back to school, and you go back to school, September's like that refresh time, got to go working out, got to go do my yoga, and that's where the Lululemon is selling to that marketplace. You know, it's the it fashion item. You got to have that little Lulu logo tag on the clothes because everybody else in that yoga studio is going to be watching you. And I must also say it's not just the women. They're selling Lululemon now for children, and even the guys are getting their tracksuits. But is it worth it to get a $150 tracksuit? I'm not so convinced, but it is the it thing.
Yeah, I know. It's comfortable because when I go to the gym, and it's funny, everyone strategically places their shirts and pants in a certain way so everyone knows they're wearing that logo, that Lululemon logo. So, you know, it's part of that wanting to be part of the brand, right?
Yeah, and it is the hot brand out there right now. So, you know, I know women that have multiple Lululemon outfits, and not only that, but the students, especially in university, they're wearing Lululemon because it's a nice comfort clothing for school. So, you know, I bid them well. I hope they do well. It's a Canadian company, so whenever Canadian companies are out there, we want them to do well.
We absolutely do. Well, thank you so much. That does it for Bontis on Business on Friday. You can check out Nick on his website, nickbontis.com. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.